Right, thank you, Matthew. A sixth Paul Sykes book has come along. So the first one was Paul Sykes. I done 3. Rob Brenton done 1, and you've come along and done. Yes,
I never
Paul.
thought I would. I never thought it'd be me.
And I've got to
I'm over
say,
the moon to be mentioned in the same breath as your books. Thank you.
no, I tell you what, it fits really perfectly. And I always, I've often over the years said, buy the 3 books, 4 books, 5 books, and now, Warcry Press have done that, but it's a great addition, Matthew. So, where did the idea come along for you to say, do you know what, oldest pint, I'll do a book on Paul Sykes?
Well, I've listened to a lot of your stuff, because if there's anything Paul Sykes, I'll be on it and I'll listen to it. And a lot of times you said, I begged people to write this book and no one would write it. And we've got a blackboard downstairs that we leave notes onto each other, and I'll draw Paul Sykes with a speech bubble saying, "Make a pot of tea then," and things like that. So I was drawing these stupid little pictures, and I've always done them as part of my graphic design experience. So, and my mate always said to me, "You should make a book out of them." And I've never really found someone I'd want to make the book about, but now I have, I guess. And it's not just Paul; it's the characters that surround him. I think I know. I said it's got everything comedy-wise. I only really focus on the comedy, because you can't glamorize it, but it's got everything that Carl Pilkington's got, the royal family's got, the Office, Partridge, all of them. It's got everything they've got, but it's got a lot of tragedy in it as well. But yeah, I kind of begged Warcry for, to be honest, I want to make this thing, and do you want to be involved? And I just kept pestering, saying, I've done another small piecemeal artwork, until it was a book, and it was like, look, the book's here now, what are we going to do? Because they must get ideas for books all the time. You know what would be a good idea for a book? And as a graphic designer, you get a lot of people saying to you,
sorry, Matthew, you're a bit tinny at the minute. Is your audio okay?
yeah, I can hear you okay. Everything's cool here.
Can
Yeah, I can hear you okay.
is there any chance you can take the earphones out, or will that change you?
Not without waking the babies up.
Right, okay.
I can try. I'll try. Hold on.
Hello?
Okay.
Oh, that's much better.
What, do you want to go from the top again, or is that just a
No,
minor glitch?
just carry on. So, Paul Sykes,
Yes.
So
I wanted to make the pictures that were in your book, the bits that aren't in the documentary and all that, and find a visual language to tell that story, tell the stuff where his parents visit him in prison and tell him that someone's died, and that gallows humor of that working class humor of good. That's Paul's response. And that's where you're always someone like that who says good to no matter who's died. So yeah, I can't believe it's here and it's finished and it's done. That's another one. It's fantastic. The reception to it has been awesome, because I think obviously I said it's an honor to be to bring it out with Warcry, who've got a reputation for doing it well, and I don't think I could have done it in any other capacity, and I'm so made up that it's being called the sixth Paul Sykes book.
Yeah, absolutely.
I called it Volume 1 with ambition to just make them for the rest of my life, but during making them, I'm not going to lie, it was tough, because you're documenting someone's life that didn't turn out too great. So some of the artwork was harder to make, as you probably experienced yourself.
Listen, I'm the devil in Wakefield. Listen, a lot of the things with Paul Sykes, I wasn't even alive. I was, when I was born, Paul Sykes was 34. So right. A lot of his evil deeds he was involved with was well before my time. But I think the city of Wakefield, the lots of books have come now. There's going to be a documentary. There's going to be a film which has been signed, and there's a hell of a lot of people that kind of hold me responsible, if you like, for waking the ghost of Paul Sykes up. I mean, have you had any negativity yourself?
Do you know what? I haven't, and I think
you're not working hard enough.
Well, yeah, I'm never going to get to your level of trolls. Not to be honest, there's not really much forum for people to. Maybe after this, people would say you shouldn't have done it, but I don't think there's anything in the book. There's only one shark gets punched, and there's a few swear words. So everything in the book is what you will kind of already know, and there's a few little facts there as well that you don't know. But yeah, I tried to keep it on a level where you can access Paul's life and have that same level of humour, of that joke of good, I'm glad they're dead sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Trying to lean towards the comedy and not the stuff that you can't glamorize, the brutality and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But hopefully running through it as a thread where it documents what happened, why he was like he was, and maybe a few of the people who had a hand in it. Obviously he was responsible for his own actions, but he was a product of his environment. I think you've said that yourself a few times, and yeah, it's a wonderful world to dive into, and I'm noticing now people are discovering Paul through my book, and I hoped it would always be a conduit, like a Wikipedia page or like a documentary, to your books, and complement them, because you can see the funny side in there, but if you want to find out what really happened, there's only your books. That's where I got my information from.
Yeah, I was going to say that I've been quite impressed with a few of the things, and I mean, when I read it took me about an hour to read it, and I was just sat in the bed, and the wife was like, "Will you shut up?" But the wife read it as well, and she said, "You know what? That kid's got it spot on." Lots of little, the bits where anyone, whether it's old Ethel up the road or anyone, good, bad, or, Walter Betty Kay would go and tell Paul and say so-and-so's dead, and he'd just sit and smoke a rollie and just say good. And that was him for a lot of years, and I think you captured that brilliantly.
I think it was a lot of people we grew up with, and it was a lot of people, I can say you maybe without knowing, but anyone that's the calluses on the hands of mankind, anyone that's had to do a normal job and work with this old guy and go, what are you all about? Fascinated by these characters, and trying to document it in a way that you can and people can access it. That was a challenge for me, to make it nice to look at. I use the same palette as the documentary, which is quite drab, but I'm looking forward to seeing it in HD. Like I said, I'm watching the Beatles Get Back now, and watching all that stuff in high quality and high definition is just staggering. Really is.
I mean, are you going to turn this into like a little YouTube documentary or something?
Say that again, sorry.
Are you going to turn it into like a little kind of cartoon, if you like?
I don't know, because it's a labor of love. So I've got two little kids, and I've got a full-time job. So it was an image a night, if I got a night, if someone didn't have colic or whatever. So I think like with the trailer that I've made and stuff, it's at its best when you hand it over to the experts. Here's my artwork. Can you make it move? Here, can you put a soundtrack to this? It's only a short trailer, but it's a vertical slice of what could be, I think. So there's potential for it, definitely. But and I think with calling it Volume 1, there's potential to make those books forever.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that was going to be my next question, Matthew.
Well.
Listen, I mean, you've got the prison governor, Phil Wheatley. You've got Kenny the tailor, who's not in. I mean, I sent it to Michael Showers, and he thought it was fantastic. That's
just odd. It's odd to know that Clyde Broughton has seen it with his own eyes. It's odd to know that Michael Showers might have seen what's going on. But it'd
Yeah,
be
oh,
odd to know that, like,
you've got. I mean, Paul Jr. I mean, I actually went to visit him in prison. So he, you know, you haven't got Ryan in, you haven't got Adam in, who gets, you know, I think you've got Kath in, but you know, there's some of the prisoners you haven't got in. Oh, there's definitely a room for another couple there, Matthew. I mean, I was really blown away with it, and
well, thank you very much. I really appreciate your kind words, and I think if someone had said, "What would it be like when you finish it?" and I said, "Well, I think in my mind, if those people like it, then I'm halfway there." I think it's
you know,
about finding people, finding its audience really, and it will do that. It will do that, and maybe it takes a long time, maybe it takes a short amount of time. I don't know, but I'm not really in it for the praise, which is nice. I don't really do it for that. I have a bucket list. One day I want to make a book. I want to do an album cover. I want to do, and I'm ticking them all off. So, so I've done a book now, and it's got an ISBN number. So,
yeah. I mean, can I ask you? Have you spoke to it? Because when I do a book, people think it's the end when it's not. It's the start. You've got to speak to papers, radios, possibly televisions. Have you spoke to Wakefield Express or newspapers?
to be honest, I wouldn't dare, because I know it's like
That's
I
when the
know
trolls come in.
yeah, I don't. You're opening doors that you think are
Literally,
shut.
I mean, yeah. As Paul Sykes says, you're opening doors that you, yeah, you know what I mean. But do you know what? You're like literally, as soon as you go on the platforms,
yeah,
you know, it's like doing an Ouija board of bad spirits. So if you started sharing the link for that to all the Wakefield, Pontefract, Barnsley, that's when you get the hatred. But do you know what?
right.
Anything in life worth doing doesn't come easy, and you know, that's when you get the sales. You've got to be relentless. I mean, Rob will tell you.
Yeah,
I mean, how much of
I'm
an
super
input?
fortunate that I don't have to use it to feed myself because
Yeah,
I've got a normal 9 to 5. So it's more of a kind of, I'll pour my heart into it in my own time and invest
I mean,
my own time
I
into
tell you what, that might be able to help you, Matthew. I know. Well, it's my job. I know a number of reporters. I mean, do you want me to approach them?
I'm terrified. I was terrified of this, if I'm honest with you. I'd
Yeah.
love to just
Well, listen,
remain
if
on
it's
the
not for
DL.
you, if
Just
it's
keep
not,
it all on the DL.
yeah.
No,
I don't know. I mean,
I think because of the nature of what it is and what he's done, part of me is reluctant to go check out this book. It's hilarious.
yeah.
And part of me is part of me wants people to experience Paul as a kind of gateway drug, as that book might be. Just so they can see that, like, what can happen in those
Can I
situations.
just interrupt you, Matthew?
Yes,
Because when I watched Paul Sykes in 2012, I was like, what the fuck have I just watched? I was just like,
yeah,
wow. And then I went on the journey. But what I did, I got my mate to make me about 40 discs, and I sent them to everyone I knew, famous boxers, and everyone was just like, wow. And I, you know, because I grew up in a boxing environment and true crime, and I was like, I was 32 by that point. I'm 41 now, and I was thinking, how have I never heard of him? And that's exactly what it was, like a gateway. And I wanted everyone to watch it, to kind of, I was obsessed with it, and I really, really was. And, you know, I watched a documentary, I read Sweet Agony, I Googled him that he died, but I wanted to know why. And,
yeah.
and is this the reason why you've done your book? Was it a passion where you thought, you know what, I want to do something? And can I ask you another question? How well has it done? Because if there's anyone who wants to buy this book, I'm going to put the link in the bio. So it's the greatest little stock. It's the best little stocking filler on earth. How do I know? I've been everywhere else. So listen, this is a perfect gift for anyone who's a Paul Sykes enthusiast.
Yeah.
At $12.95, Warcry Publishing do it. But I'll shut up so you can answer me them questions.
What was the first question? Forgive me, because I'm heavily dyslexic, so I have
So
one short attention span.
when you watched the Paul Sykes documentary, did
Yeah.
you know then you were going to do a book, or?
No, I never dreamed I'd even speak to you about Paul Sykes, if that makes sense, because it's someone. It's like you discover a band and they're your favorite band, and then they're popular in the charts, and you stop liking them because they were your band, and you were into them, and your mates were into them, and you all like them, but now everyone likes them. So part of me doesn't want that to happen, doesn't want it to blow up and become this big thing. But I think there's I just think the documentary is such a window into that time and that period and everything, and this man's life that is just insane, and will keep uncovering more and more insane as time goes on. What was the second question? Sorry.
And obviously, I mean, Rob's kind of, I don't know what I would describe Rob as. Maybe he's my business partner. He'd probably say he was my boss. I'd probably say he was a knobhead. But I love him. I love him daily. And me and him, we trust each other and we work close together. And we have done for over 6 years. Certainly, I mean, I've known him over 6 years now, but I've more or less spoke to him every day for probably the last 5.5 maybe, because, you know, I didn't know where I was an author or any good, and it's kind of gone on. I mean, what's the sales been like for your book then?
I think I've had the same relationship with Rob. He's took a punt on me because I've never done a book before, like you didn't at the beginning. But obviously you've shown that you can do it, and he's took a punt on me, and he's a fan, so he's going to buy into. He's a fan of Paul Sykes, so he's going to buy into whatever you do. How it's done, I know it sounds weird, but I kind of don't really. I'm not of that mindset of like we must sell as many as we can, or we must. I'm just happy it exists in the world, and I want it to filter down to the people that really want it for Christmas, or the people that, there's 250 of them, and I know a lot of them have gone, and I know a lot of people have got them in their hands because they're telling me, I don't have exact numbers, but I'm overjoyed that you've got one and I've got one. It's a strange answer, but it's.
I mean, you know what? This is
there's
called
lots of ways to
1.
push it and market it, isn't there? And I kind of cringe when I see other people pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing to go buy my book, please. I'm not in that situation. I know a lot of people are, but I'm not. And maybe this sounds weird to say, but I'm just. It's like an art piece. I'm glad it's made. I'm glad people enjoy it and look at it. It may be worth millions, or it may be worth like less if I signed it, less than its asking price. I really don't know. That's not into my head, and I think the same applies to the publishers, because it's a labor of love. It's another Sykes book, and they all want to see another Sykes book. And I hope more people make them, because I want to. I want the experience I got when I was reading your book, and and you sitting laughing at my book. It's just weird. It's weird. It's weird.
Well, Matthew, can I ask you, because you've called this volume 1, and so I mean, I tell you what, it'd be a crying shame if you didn't do another one. Listen, I know the film's happening, the documentary's happening, and I've got a feeling, Matthew, that, listen, there's a saying, I think it's in one of Kevin Costner's films, if you build it, they will come. And I think the public will demand more of them, because, at the minute, Paul Sykes is just this crazy guy who talks about punching sharks. Yes, there's the books, but when the documentary comes out, when the half Rob, who is going to play Paul Sykes, comes out, and it's, the film company have spoken about 2 million for the film. That's going to happen next year. There was only COVID really, which has not made it. It was due to start filming in September last year, and I think a lot of people will be more familiar with the story, like the Craze or the Essex Boys. It won't just be this kind of mad bastard who's talking about punching sharks. And I mean, what's your friends and family thought? Have they read it? And
they've been. I'm very fortunate. I've got a great family, so they've been very supportive and they bought a copy. And you can kind of see they've gone, I didn't know anything about this guy, and it's a really good book, and you've done it, well. I think I've tried to make it tell the story in a palatable way for people, so you're not diving too much into the misery, too much into the bad stuff. It's just kind of like, he's a funny guy. When he stands up and says, I doubt you know much about painting. Just the timing on that, you couldn't, most stand-up comedians would be, and it turns out whose painting it is. It's unbelievable.
Well, do you know, you should funny you say that, because Roger Greenwood, obviously I had a meeting with Nick Lord and Roger Greenwood, and they said, I mean, they didn't even ask him to do that. The pausing, he said, he kind of talks about it, and then he gets a pause, and he holds it up, and then it's a serial killer. I mean, I know the Dennis Flint bit, that was done where you heard his voice, then you seen his wig, then you seen the table, and it was
There's
almost
a few comedy reveals in that one, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, was there any parts, Matthew, where you looked into the Paul Sykes story and you thought, because there's a lot of grey areas, alleged stories. Yeah. Was there any parts of that where you thought, hang on a minute, I'm going to leave this here?
Yeah, there was a few. I'm not going to lie. There was a few where I thought, why am I doing a book when he's done this? But I don't know. I guess what gets you through is the comedy, and I know I keep saying it, but I'm sure there's some really funny books out there about people who made some terrible decisions.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I think if I sat with my ethics, then there's stuff that's indefensible, obviously, but you do have to remember that it's a window into a certain point in time where a lot of things happen that they shouldn't have flown then, and they don't fly now. But they were, they went on. They went on, and you can't condone them. I don't really know what to say on those grey areas. There was bits I read about torturing people and stuff, and I thought, and animal stuff, which I thought there's no place for that,
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've spoken to four.
I think if you look, sorry to interrupt. I think if you look at the motive for a lot of the stuff, it's always a misguided choice and a misguided decision. Like we're talking about that stand-up comedy, there's a small moment in that where he speaks, where he says, "Look, I'm sorry, I'm not used to this." Like it's super minute moment of vulnerability, and that's always there where he's gonna doubt himself and make a dreadful decision. It usually involves giving someone a belt or taking a contract out on someone because he was down to his last 4 pence or whatever. I don't know. We never know the full story. We only have what's documented, don't we? And it's made in a certain way. I don't know if I'm answering questions directly, but I'm doing my best.
You know what, Matthew? I've met a lot of famous people this year. Obviously, it's my job. Footballers, boxers. I've had sat down meetings with Martin O'Neill, Alex Reid.
What a ride!
Sorry.
What a ride! As a fan, Celtic fan, what a ride!
Yeah, but you know what? I was more starstruck when I went in, because obviously the filmmakers asked me to go in the home, 6 Gizon Road. And so when I was stood in the garden where he done the shark speech, and when he walked in the kitchen, when I walked in the kitchen, I wanted to say what these lights doing on Calf. I was fortunate enough to go in the Lups at Working Men's Club just before it was knocked down, and I stood on the stage, and when I sat back, I could still see him on the stage doing that patent talk, serial killer, and yeah, seriously, I mean, I'm obsessed. I really was. I watched that documentary. Rob Brenton is obsessed, and do you know what? A lot of people, it just really captures them when you watch that documentary. when you read my books or Sweet Agony or watch the other documentary Danger Men, you're just like, right, who is this character? I want to know more. And it's almost like you become an addict and you get a thirst, and you know, but you've really captured it fantastically.
That Danger Men, I can definitely relate to that, because that Danger Men for me was like a new album coming out. There's 30 seconds of Paul talking again. And when he gets, you know, like saying when they're riding around on the landing, and I want to know where the petrol's on a motorbike, and I want to know where the petrol's come from. And then he breaks into that voice of like, Fred Smith hit me. You're like, you've never heard him do that. You've never seen him do that in a documentary. And it's just bizarre, but like, it just shows you. I was watching it again earlier because, as we were saying, we have it on his wallpaper in the background, and he gets released from prison. He gives this impassionate, it's done, it's finished, it's over. And then he batters his wife's mind in the car all the way home about about petrol running out in 2019. Then he gets in the house, then he batters her mind about having the light on. And then he's in the room moving the furniture around, battering her mind about they want us to die early. He's only been out, 3 hours? It's so, how many of those monologues did he do in his lifetime? Some of them you listen to and you go, it's complete shit, but it's the delivery, it's the timing, it's everything else. You go, like in a comparison to it is Carl Pilkington. You listen to him because you want to enter into his mind and you want to see how he's reached the decisions he's reaching. And he's a guy who's been institutionalized all his life. And that's how he's coming up with, you know, he's probably reading the papers more than the people on the out. He knows when petrol's running out. He knows all these things, but he doesn't have that real world frame of reference because he's heavily institutionalized, which is just great. It's just, I think it's a unique angle. It's a unique character, and I think what you've done and what Rob's done is keep it alive for that little bit longer amount of time before people start to notice and go, this is a big thing. I'm just one of those people who notice. All I'm doing is standing on your shoulders, really, and saying, here's another way of looking at it. I don't think I could sit down and write the books you wrote and do what Rob did, where he, you know, puts a comedy spin on it all. And those, you know, just, it's genius. And I don't know. I guess I'm obsessed like yourself. I'm rambling, but I'm obsessed.
Can I ask you a question, Matthew? Have you ever? You're based in Teesside, aren't you?
Yes.
Are you from Teesside?
Yeah. No, I'm originally from Derbyshire, right in the middle of the country, Chesterfield. It's famous for its wonderful football team.
Right. And have you ever went to the city of Wakefield yet?
No, that's my next request. I want to go. I want to sit by that fire hose holder in the pub and say, you can't help smoking. If I could do that before I die, that'd be great. That's on my bucket list.
Yeah, seriously. Do you know what? I mean, do you know what? I'll take you if you want. And you know, you need to see Gloucestershire Road and Gizzen Road, and
I'd be honoured. Honestly, I'd be honoured.
Yeah, I mean, I did it. I went and sat on the steps of Wakefield and had a can of special brew, and you know, around the Lupset estate, and you can see a lot of St George's Church Hall where the Lupset boys were coming, and yeah, I've done it. I've probably done it 15, 20 times. Yeah, you know, but not everyone in the city of Wakefield was best pleased I'd done the books, but a lot of them, even if they didn't like them, they said, you know, I've got it. And you know, once upon a time, Paul Sykes, he brought limelight on the city of Wakefield. It wasn't all about doom and gloom. Back in 78, 79, fought for the British and the Commonwealth. That was big news. Let me tell you, a couple of years back, 6 years ago, Anthony Joshua fought Dillian White for the British and the Commonwealth, and that was pay-per-view. So if John L. Gardner and Paul Sykes, you know, go back 40 odd years, that's how big that was. You know, I've met a lot of the characters, your Delroy Showers, your John L. Gardners. Was there any of them you'd ever like to meet, or, you know?
All of them. I really would. I'd like to meet all of them and just sit and listen to them talk. And even if they're not talking about Paul Sykes, I'd just sit and listen to them. I would dearly love to meet them all, but I don't know how much of it would be. Is there any that you've met and you've gone along and you've seen, you stepped into places and you've been slightly, I don't know, like when you say you shouldn't meet your heroes and stuff like that. Sometimes you shouldn't, sometimes you should. I don't know. There's two camps on that one, isn't there?
I mean, I've met a lot of people in the documentary. Kay, she was the girl who, when they get doing the wedding,
at the same time, you don't want to stir things up for people. Do you know what I mean?
She's born like that, and she's hiding. I've been in and visited Paul Sykes Jr., Delroy Showers. Who else? I mean, Kenny. Kenny just looks the same as he does now. And Kenny must be, I think he's 90 this year, still alive. And I mean, actually, it was really bizarre because he said to me, he said, Paul Sykes would often say to me, Kenny, when I'm gone, someone's going to come and write books about me. Someone's going to come and make films. And seriously, it's bizarre. And he's right. But do you know what? Seriously, Matthew, I think there needs to be a Yes, Paul, Volume 2. And if anyone is listening to this, it's nothing to do with me at all. And I'm going to put the link in the bio. So if anyone fancies buying Yes, Paul for Christmas, $12.95, and it's a barrel of laughs. If anyone loves Paul Sykes, this is an absolute must. Lots of stories, it's just a total unique book, and it kept me laughing for like an hour.
Thank you
so
so much.
I'm going to put the links in the bio. So if you click in the bio for this video, click on the link, it'll take you through to Amazon and you can buy it. Was there anything you wanted to add, Matthew?
Grab all the other books from Warcry. You won't be disappointed.
Have you read the lot now?
Yes. Yeah. Even apart from the new one, Tomo's, I'll read it.
Right.
Can't wait. No, I've read all the Sykes books, definitely. Yeah. A few times. Yeah. Awesome. Weird. It's a weird journey, and use mine to get into them, or use yours to get into mine, whichever. I'm easy. Never touched mine. Let's go as well. It just, I don't really know what to say. I'm not really equipped for this type of thing, but
well, you know what? I'm going to have a chat with one or two journalists tomorrow, and you might be able to see. You'll probably be able to see that in if it's okay with you, of course.
Any publicity is good publicity, right?
Yeah. In the words of Oscar Wilde, there's only one thing worse than being talked about, and it's not being talked about. But I personally, my opinion is there needs to be more. There needs to be another batch, because them 250 have gone. I know it was a limited edition, but it's just that good. And for the new year, Matthew, do you think we can see a volume 2, Paul Sykes?
If you can get me a DeLorean and can get me some time, that's my I'm not time rich at the moment, being a dad, so I don't want to look back and go, I made some great books for while my kids were growing up. But yes, as soon as they're old enough to go to school, I think it'll be volume 25, hopefully.
Oh, seriously. You know
There's
what?
There's enough stories, and I kind of want to see. I just have this feeling it's going to be a household name if it's not already. It might be as we speak. I think it'll just filter like that one day. I think once people get past that original monologue, I think they'll be excited by what they discover. But at the same time, they'll be blown away, and you'll laugh and you'll cry. You'll go through every emotion with reading the story and finding it out, and you'll also draw parallels with people you know. That's the weird part about it as well.
Absolutely. Well, listen, do you know what? For the rest of my life, I'm going to watch Paul Sykes at Large, and
we'll have to do this again. I loved it. As soon as we stopped, I'll go, I should have said that. I should have said this. But we'll definitely keep chatting about it.
Well, listen, there's probably going to be more Paul Sykes books from me. I did Final Agony. I don't think. I mean, Adam reached out to me a couple of years back. I think he's got that many kids. He's that many enemies. you know, he's had 3 wives. I mean, I've been to stay with one of them a few times. She's a dear friend. She found it too distressing. So
I understand that.
yeah,
There's no
you
thing
know,
in the world worth doing, really, is there? If it's someone's gonna feel like that, really.
yeah. But I think, you know, when Paul Sykes Jr. is out of prison, I think he might actually be out. Oh yeah, you know, I can definitely see. Certainly, when the film and the documentary happens next year, it's going to be. That's when he's really going to be household name, and people will be aware of him, and then that's when people will be like, you know, I've spoke to so many people over the years, mega famous people, Ricky Gervais, Robbie Williams, oh God, Johnny Nelson, Glenn McCrory, Charles, you know, Bob Mortimer, the League of Gentlemen. They're all obsessed with Paul Sykes because he was just this absolutely one-off character where you think he must be. It's like Keith Lemon. You think he cannot be a real person, but he is 100%. Has you seen him and more?
Yeah, they definitely broke the mold, didn't they?
Oh, absolutely. Well, listen, Matthew, I'm going to give you the last word, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure. If anyone fancies buying Yes, Paul, then click on the bio, click on the link, and it'll take you through Amazon. Buy it, $12.95. The book is called Yes, Paul, published by Warcry Publishing, of course. Who else when it's Paul Sykes? And the last word, yes, Matthew?
You might see me in Wakefield at some time with a guy with a full face mask on and a crash helmet. Yeah, please pick it up. And hopefully it'll hold its resale value if you don't like it.
Yeah.
I'm not in the business of shifting units. So I'm making the things that I love, and hopefully that'll trickle to the people who love it. And we'll find them. They're out there. I think Kevin Smith, who says that you've just got to find 1,000 people that are into what you're into, and then you've got enough money to eat. So I'm lucky enough to I'm not going to say anymore because I'm going on. But
yeah,
it's been a pleasure to speak to you, and we'll have to do it again.
Kevin Costner's film, If You Build It, There Will Come. Yeah. And you're very right, mate. And, you know, it's a niche market. Everyone's fascinated, whether they love him, think he epitomizes everything evil. Very much like the Lee Duffy and Teesside. And that book is scary. 30 got stolen in 1 month in one shop. That's how big it was. And, you know, Paul Sykes has been massive. All 3 of mine were bestsellers. But Matthew, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. Listen, the new year, I will take you around Lupsit, and we'll I'll show you around Paul's Manor, and we can have a pint in the Bourne Lane Library.
I can't wait.
You can flip ash in my pint.
Can't wait. I'm so excited.
Absolute pleasure, sir. God bless.
Thank you. Take care.